All right, welcome to the last session of the day. Woo! You did it. You're the hardcore. You're the holdouts. Moving on. Uh-oh. Oh, hang on. Technical difficulties. All right. Here are the goals. Guys, the stuff I'm teaching you today may not be the most exciting monitoring stuff you've ever seen. Sorry. It may not be the most interesting stuff you've ever seen, but it's cool. It's tricky and it's fun. I'm going to hit a few points, stuff that's good, basically, and try to get you, this basic approach, right? And here's what we're going to do. My name is Grant Fritchie. This is my contact information. Please, please, please use it. Get in touch. If you have questions, comments, suggestions, if you want to send cash, right there. All right, I'll put this up again at the end, so don't feel like you have to write it down now, because you can't see it anymore. Here is our agenda. Yeah, I don't know what it means either. In general, what we're going to cover, I'm going to talk to you about the metric, tell you what it measures, how it works, what it does, fun stuff about it. I'm going to show you the T-SQL that you can use to get at the large blobs of data that this information can provide for you. And then I'm going to show you in SQL Monitor how you can boil it down to that one little return value that you need for SQL Monitor to be able to gather this information, all right? Now, the monitor I'm going to show you is monitoring live data, but it is monitoring live data on my laptop, which goes on and off on a regular basis, and so some of the data will have gaps. Please don't be upset. It's not a problem with SQL Monitor. It's the fact that my laptop gets turned off. If your production server looks like this, it's a bad thing, okay? That's something you should know. I mentioned Monitor just real quick. Who doesn't know what it is? Anybody? Okay, great. You already know what it is. Here's the nice marketing slide. This is what it looks like. Couple of cool things I like about Monitor. If you're in a small environment, who's managing like hundreds of servers, terabytes and terabytes and terabytes of data? 2, 3, 4, 5. Monitor may not be a good tool for you. This is for the small guys, the new guys, the mid-range guys. It's a good tool. For the really, really high-end, uber-duper enterprise people, it's just not what you need. And I just want to be upfront about it because I want to be clear and honest. It's just my method. But everybody else, this is a great piece of software. All right. My precious. The ring buffers. Ring buffers are really cool. The ring buffers are a set of event messaging, gathering things going on inside a SQL Server, or going on inside of the OS. Events that occur go into the ring buffer. And you're thinking, yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, great, good job. Some of the events that occur are really useful. For example, out-of-memory errors. When you get an out-of-memory error, it goes straight into the ring buffer. Here's a DMV, System OS ring buffers. You want to know if you're getting out-of-memory errors? Query this. It's that easy. But it gets better. When you have low memories, the operating system is aware of the fact that you get low memory. And if you have low physical memory, also known as external memory, operating system memory, right? Because SQL Server manages its own memory, you'll get external memory alerts inside of the ring buffers. You can see without doubt, without surprise, shock, nobody's guessing, gee, I wonder if that means I have low memory. Yes, it means you have low memory. This is a one sure indicator you have low memory. What's causing it? I don't know. This isn't going to tell you. You have to go and figure it out through other sources. But if you're wondering, if you're sitting around going, geez, I don't know, I think we have low memory, but I'm not sure. We've checked this and we've looked at stop, go here. If you've got external memory alerts inside of the ring buffers, you have low memory. If you have VAS, virtual address space, meaning the memory that SQL Server itself manages, you get VAS alerts inside of the ring buffers, you've got SQL Server memory problems. And it's literally a bool. You get one of these, you have low memory. You don't get one of these, aces, you're doing good. Keep going. Must be a 64-bit machine. All you have to do is check for the existence. Now here's the bad news. It's really easy, you just check for the existence. Everybody in the back can see that little word, or everybody up front? Output is XML. So getting all the nifty little data out of it actually requires a little bit more work. Let's play with code. Nobody wants to hear me talk. You want to see code. Here's the data. So I got my ring buffers. I got my nice ring buffer exceptions that are occurring, and I got my, oh, so useful timestamp. Oh yeah, I remember that day. Okay. Right? Completely and utterly obscure. And then a whole bunch of stuff inside of XML. Useful, right? Yes. No. So, instead, I'm going to write a query. I'm going to run you through the query real fast. If you've not done XML queries, I'm sorry. This isn't an XML teaching class. We'll do that another day. First thing I'm doing is this is stored as text, so I have to cast it as XML in order to be able to do X queries against it. And then I'm pulling back the timestamp because, believe it or not, it is useful. It's just obscure. From OS ring buffers as DRB, where the ring buffer type is equal to ring buffer resource something monitor. Okay? Everybody with me so far? That's all that CTE does is basically takes the text and turn it into XML. I'm lazy. I did it in a CTE. Then I'm doing all the fun stuff. I'm not going to make you crazy with all the select statements, but it's basically XR is the column, value is the XML inside there, and this is the XPath query to retrieve the data. Okay? And this little chunk of code, and you can look it up online. I didn't make it up. I'm not that smart. I went and found it. This little chunk of code takes the timestamp, which is literally a date and time, believe it or not. It's a set of ticks stored off the system, and you can get the date time out of that ridiculous number that made no sense at all. From my CTE, the ring buffer, I'm cross-applying over to the ring nodes record, cross-join to sysinfo. This is for the doing the date time stuff, and then just order by the date. Nice, simple query, nothing crazy. And now I see, one, if you have high memory alerts, how bad are those? Anybody? No, they're good. Yeah, if you're getting high memory alerts, and you get high memory alerts, which is kind of weird. It's like, I watch them go by, I'm like, okay, I care about this, why? But you get high memory alerts. Now, if you've had low memory and then you get high memory, then you know that it's clear. If you have low memory, it stays that way, then you got a problem. But, okay, great. It gave me high memory. But, I'm not showing you some of the more interesting, fun stuff it pulled out of. Look. An actual date and time. Told you. Target memory, the actual memory. Committed memory, the actual memory. Shared memory, pages memory, memory utilization, total physical memory, available physical memory, total page file, blah, 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 blah. All actually useful bits of information, all gathered right out of that XML, all available when you get the low memory alert, which is the thing that we're really interested in, okay? Either the vast memory or the physical memory. And here's one little bit of advice, because I learned this the hard way. Don't lower the memory on your server to generate a low memory thing to 1 megabyte. SQL Server doesn't recover well from that. And the outage was interesting. I learned a couple of things, but I don't recommend trying it, especially not on your production servers. Any questions so far? Everybody cool? Okay. Now, if I want to get this down to where I could use it, say, inside a SQL Monitor, I'm going to get a little bit more sophisticated with it. First, I'm going to go ahead and do another CTE. I'm doing the same thing. I'm doing the conversion on this stuff. I went ahead and moved my date timestamp conversion up to here just so I could get it out of the way. And then I'm doing the same the cross joins before. And then I'm just doing a select top one because I only need to see an instance of a low memory alert to know that I've had a low memory event, okay? Any single instance of it is enough. And then I'm retrieving that information out of the query. And yes, all this code should be available online by August 1st, or if not sooner. I'll put it up on my blog. So this will return a very useful bit of information, right? No, wrong. See, wrong. All right, let's go over here. I should have set this up before I came in. See, now I'm wasting your time. Give it a second. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, I forgot yesterday. You guys don't know that song. Cool. Let's take a look at the analysis. You can actually go down and look at the various custom metrics that I've set up, and I can see my low physical memory alert on my server, and there's lots of them in the last 10 minutes. Okay, wait, last 24 hours. Yeah, in other words, it's a laptop. How much low memory alerts am I going to get? Hopefully, donut, right? In theory. But you could get more. Now let me show you how I set this up, though. Whoops. Custom metrics, low physical memory, give it the description, yada, yada, yada. It's just the query I showed you before. And it's all right there inside the screen. No shocks, no surprises. Yeah, it's Windows 8. It's ugly. Don't worry about it. Just the query I set up before. One thing I am doing with this, and most of the alerts I'm showing you today are server level monitoring methods, okay? So that since they're server level, I'm not going to let it do all databases or all user databases, because looking for out of memory alerts for every single database on my system, not the brightest thing in the world. So I'm going to specify databases, and I'm going to make it master so that it's running from one central location with an expected set of results. Do you understand why I did that? Nod? Lie, just nod. It's okay. All right, good. Remember, I'm an American, and you guys have to treat me differently. And you can decide why. You can say for nice reasons or bad reasons, and they're both true. All right. Oops. All right, that's that one. Any questions? Sir?
Why did you use master rather than one of the other system databases? Just habit.
Why would I go to MSDB for it? I mean, yeah, I could go to model and do the same thing. I mean, it's just, master just seems like the place to go. In some instances, some of these queries, you need to go to master. That's where the stuff lives. This one is not that way. I could run it against every one of my system databases. It'd just be, or I mean, all my user databases, it'd just be kind of messy. The Workers. Who recognizes the movie? Yes, thank you. SysDMOS workers. If the state is running, you have load. That's it. This is an indication of load. It's a nice way to see what's happening on the system, to see if there is actually a load in the system, to see if you are actually seeing activity. What else does it tell you? Nothing. It's almost useless. However, if you need to be able to understand how the load is varying on your server, for example, who here is dealing with SQL Server that's not running by itself, as it should be? Nobody? Nobody's got their Exchange server and their IIS server and 3 or 4 different third-party products all running next to SQL Server? None of you? Okay, there's a few of you who are lying, because I promise you, some of you, I see somebody smiling back there, and he's not laughing at me, he's smiling because he thinks he's getting away with it. You're not. However, if you're in that situation, you've got to be able to keep an eye on what's going on inside the system and understand what's going on in the load. This one's a really simple query. I mean, this is, I hate throwing these like complex ones at you guys all the time, but this one's like ridiculously, oh, sorry, I got these things out of order. Here it is. Select count star. Done. Seriously, that's it. I'm sorry, I know, but it really is a good indication of load. It is a really good indication to see what's going on inside the system. You get a lot of worker processes inside of your OS, okay? But if they're not running, then there's nothing going on. It's only when they're running that you get values. Now, if we switch over to the browser again, take a look at the analysis. And where is it? Workers. Take a look at the last 30 days. Okay, last 7 days. Last 24 hours. 0 and -1. All right. If it's -1, worry. Okay, it's not actually -1. It's just a rendering error. Sorry about that. My bad. But it's not that big a deal. All right, any questions on this one? I realize this one's easy. I get it. But it's a great measure. Okay, another great measure is the schedulers. What do schedulers do? Not Neil. You can't answer this one. Anybody else? What? Service the workers. They actually do. They service the workers. They're managing the workers. They're scheduling what? CPU. And? Anything else? Okay, you can answer it now. What else? Huh? Memory. Load. It's an indication of load. It's yet another good indication of workload, because when the schedulers are busy, guess what? You're swapping stuff in and out of memory. You're swapping stuff, you're cycling things through your CPUs. It's going one after another. So if these things are pegging out and you're hitting a big number, then you need to worry about it. Now this number and this number both, you need to sweat these because they're an indication of load, but what you really, really need to have on these is a baseline. You have to be able to compare it, because if your OS schedulers is 8, is that bad? What's worse than 7? Right? But is that a bad number? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. It might not be. Or it could be really horrendously bad. If your normal number is 1, 8's bad. All right? So you just check this stuff out. Again, this is another one of the complex queries. I'm sorry. I hate doing these ones, but they do happen. It's tricky, especially the is idle part. I know. Well, see, they're using the same counting system you guys use for the floors on a building. Three schedulers. Is that bad? I don't know either. What are you looking at me for? I don't know. I was hoping you guys did. If you take a look at the schedulers, I've got them set up so that I'm capturing them over time, and I go from anywhere from 3 to 5 schedulers. I suspect, I don't know for a fact, but I suspect 5 schedulers is probably not a problem. And I suspect 3 schedulers or 2 schedulers is probably not a problem either. But knowing how these things are behaving and knowing how they're going up and down, and if you're looking at it going constantly up, or if you're looking at it pegged at a high number when you used to see it at a low number, now you got a problem. And you can look at it like this also. You don't have to look at just the last 24 hours. You can look at this 24 versus the previous 24, and now suddenly you've got, what's that? A baseline. I'm now comparing one to another, okay? And now I can measure load on the server. Who's thrilled? Okay, Jonathan, you have issues, okay. All right, that's the dull stuff. Let's get on to the fun stuff. And yes, I've looked this band up, and I fell in love with the cover of their album. I listened to about 30 seconds of the band, and I realized it's some sort of national pride moment for you guys, and I really didn't like them. So I'm very sorry. I like other British bands. This one left me quite cold. But it was such a cool picture. Anyway, DBCC memory status. Anybody looked at this one before? Yeah, of course you have. This is a dump of all the memory in your system. And it's really cool. Wait till you see it. It's a lot of fun. When I say all, I mean all. It's all the memory managers and all the various memory buckets that have been allocated within the system. And it's really kind of shocking the amount of crap that comes back and how hard it is to understand what it is that you're looking at, because it's messy. But if you look through it and you find target and you find current, and you're in a situation where target is greater than current, guess what? You're out of memory. It's yet another indication, a flat out, positive, 100% reliable indication you are out of memory. It's another way to find it, because I've dealt with people who are like, yeah, I'm sure we ran out of memory. How do you know? Well, because the memory's flatlined. See, if you look at the actual amount of memory used, it's flatlined all the way at the top. Yeah, SQL Server does that. Yeah, see it, and so we're out. Well, no. You're not. It's working fine. You have other issues. This is a way to tell whether or not you really are out of memory. Let's take a look at the query. Another complex one, I am sorry. I hate to throw these at you. This one's hard to remember. And so here you go. You get your nice memory results back. And I know I was saying it was a big pile of dump and really hard to understand, but clearly I was lying. This is pretty simple to understand, right? Oh, wait, I'm sorry. That's only the first result set. Yeah, I cheat. I don't mind. Yeah, it's like, well, okay, that's the small memory objects internal, and this is the procedure cache, and there's the global memory objects, and there's the object store transaction cache, and the object store transaction cache node 0, and oh, God. How often do you go into this, by the way? You're nodding your head and smiling. How often do you go into this?
Sessions on this stuff. I love it.
Oh, okay, you love it. This thing is pretty cool. I mean, it really does give you an indication of where the memory is at inside the system, but you've got to dig through this stuff to understand it. So instead, being the lazy individual that I am, I'm going to declare a local table variable. And yes, I know I badmouthed table variables earlier, but I will not be using this in a way that I need statistics for it. I'm going to insert into that table the execution. And then I'm going to say, with that, select the top two where the current value of the row number over order by blah, 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 right? What I'm going to do is get both current committed and target committed, and I'm going to compare the two. See? Current committed and target committed. Okay, so when one and then when the other, and it's all part of a CTE, and then I select from the CTE to be able to decide which one's higher. That's it. It's nice and simple, believe it or not. I know it looks slightly more complex than the other query, but it's not. It's very easy. I say that because I did it. And if I did it, it's easy. There's your value. Now, is that value useless? She's over here, yes. You're 98% right. The value itself is useless. What is useful here? Bingo! I'll get the cash out later, okay? Good job. It's positive. It's a positive number. Therefore, target's less than current. I'm all happy. It's that easy. Yeah, you want to say something. He's biting his lip off. I got to stop looking at you, that's all. No, good nod. No, heckle more. And really quickly, let's look at same thing here, memory status. And so, again, we got before and after yesterday, and you can see the numbers going up and down. And this is when I launched virtuals, or turned them off. Or actually, I think that was a reboot. Not sure. Anyway, no, I shut down my virtual right there, and then rebooted, and you can see the big gap. Like I said, if your production server looks like that, cry. Or how did Steve put it? Work on your resume? All right, any questions on memory status?
Is that the same stuff that's available from the DMV? Is there a memory box at the end of it or something like
I don't know. Good question. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'd have to go look it up.
I think the name's the same, yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll have to go look it up. I'm sorry. I don't know. When I don't know, I'll just let you know that because it's much easier than trying to lie. Stalls. Yeah, I found out later. You guys don't call them this. Yeah, these are stalls. Okay. And these are stalls. Now, what's a stall? What's a stall mean? Anybody? Not this stall, that stall. Weights. Right? Weights. So these are waiting for what? What's that little thing mean? I/O. So this is waiting on? Disks. Yes. These are disks. These are all disk weights. I/O stall reads, I/O stall writes, I/O stalls in general. These are disk weights. Again, these results have to be compared to a baseline. You can't simply look at these numbers and know that 42 is bad, okay? 42 milliseconds waiting on a write to a disk, yeah, that sucks. But how old is your disk? You know, how much money did you spend on it? Because that's always the question. How much money did you spend on it? 42 might be how slow it is, right? So it might not be bad. 42 might be really fast. It depends. You've got to understand your system over a period of time as a baseline. Now, the queries for this one are not easy. Let me just tell you up front, I'm cheating. Actually, I'll tell you I'm cheating in a minute. I'll tell you all about the cheat in just a second. The query's pretty straightforward. Database ID, file ID, sample milliseconds, number of reads, sample milliseconds. Anybody know what that is? Amount of time being sampled, right? Number of reads, number of bytes read. It's actually a very useful bit of information. You get a really good idea of what's going on inside the file system, okay? And the stalls are the times it's waiting. Now I'm running SSDs, and believe it or not, I've got 22 milliseconds of stalls. Apparently, things aren't running too fast, or apparently that's probably about the number that this thing runs at, possibly. Information to look into. Again, I have to be able to compare it over time. 22 could be horrifically bad, or 22 could be glorious. I don't know, based on the number all by itself. So here's what I did for getting out the stall read MS for the monitor. But my cheat, I want to let you know up front, is this. Because you have to determine the database file that you're going to be referencing. And I'm going after one of the files by passing in the two. I'm going in for a particular file. If you've got multiple files in your system, you're going to have to set this up in a different fashion. All right. So I am cheating. I'm letting you know I'm cheating. You'll have to do more work to use this for multi-file databases. All right. Do you understand? Do you mind that I cheated? Okay, good. He answered correctly. Thank you. He did mind. Yes, of course I mind. And so I got 4 on the stalls. If we switch back over here to, I hear the horn now. What the heck's going on? We're not out there. We're all being good. Stall, stall, stall. There it is. So there's my stalls before and after. Notice I'm actually collecting multiple databases. The query that I set it up so I only have one data file per database right now. So I'm capturing it for all my databases and seeing what's going on with them. And I can filter it down and take a look at them and get an idea of what's going on with the various different stalls over time, or compare it to the baseline like I did this hour versus previous. Yeah, okay, no big differences, right? And no stalls, actually. But the last 24 hours, there have been at least a couple, at least one going negative. How the heck did that happen? What do you think that might be? Yeah, no, an inconsistent read is what that is. That's just a mistake. Questions on stalls? Oh, yeah, I did show it. Okay, cool. Sir?
I've never been that convinced on those, especially if you're attached to massive SAN.
If the system's waiting to write, it's waiting to write. Doesn't matter. Wait time is wait time. Right. Well, I mean, and also this is not a measure of the speed of writes to your system necessarily. This is just the measure of the, at least the stalls are the measure of wait time. If it had to wait, I don't care if you're on a SAN or not, it waited. The cause might be, you know, I mean, it might not be your SAN, it might not be your configuration on the network, it might be, who knows?
I was trying to prove the SAN was rubbish.
Oh, you need to get Brent Ozar's presentation on that. He's got, he's yes.
You've got high stalls, but you also got a high average second for those transactions for reads per second.
Right.
Then that's indicating that you've got contention or fragmentation.
Oh, right.
But if your stalls are just sort of randomly
Distributed, right, like mine are.
and that's where the deltas, you need to do your delta range.
Right.
What's the point between
So what he said is if you have stalls and you've got high transaction rates, then you're probably looking at wait times on reads and writes and actually seeing the stuff. Good point. Versus what my disk is doing, which is just randomly distributing the information into even negative numbers occasionally. In which case, it's not an indication. By the way, the main reason that thing did a negative number is not because it got a negative number on the stall. It's because I did this. Where am I? In the custom metrics, on the stalls, I was more interested in the calculated rate of change between collections. I wanted to see it going up and down. And so what you saw in a negative is the stalls actually dropping, as opposed to a positives when the stalls went up, and the flat line is when the stalls were evenly distributed. So instead of just measuring a raw number and trying to figure out, interpret if that was meaningful, I was doing comparisons over time so I could capture that information on an ongoing basis. All right, you understand? I show you, I try to trick you guys on purpose. And then sometimes I forget stuff. But you can't tell which is which. Oops, nope, slide. There we go. I'm sorry, I love this picture. That's almost as good as status quo. The picture, not the band. OS wait stats, one of the most useful measures you'll ever get. Unfortunately, they don't always tell you what things are happening, right? You get a great, oh, cool, page IO latch. That means I have disk problems. Let me go in there. Okay, I know I have disk problems. What is causing my disk problems? Sorry, can't help you. Not from here. You have to go and find other locations and other information. And I'll show you in a minute one of the better places to go for that. But signal wait time shows that the CPU is waiting. Page IO latch is great for disks. And all the rest of the wait stats are fantastic, except I really hate CX packet wait. What's CX packet wait an indication of? Wrong. CX packet wait is not an indication of parallelism. It is an indication of context switching. Now, what's one of the causes of context switching? Parallelism, right? But there's not an automatic correlation between a high CX packet weight and a high number or bad parallelism occurring on your system. Sorry, I hate to pop that bubble. It's actually not a good measure of parallelism. Again, these numbers, they will be meaningless unless you compare them to history or a baseline. Okay? Right? Yep, good. Query time. And if you look, waiting task count, waiting time, wait time milliseconds, signal wait time. Cool stuff. And, you know, not in any particular order and completely and utterly incomprehensible. What the heck is this one? I have not seen this one before. Oh, Sleep DB startup. Okay. All I saw was sleep. Cool. Yeah. Replica rights. Fun stuff. You know where the documentation for this is located? Bingle. That's the place to go for that. I'm sorry, not Bingle. What was the other one? Not Boogle. No? One of them. No, I hit the search engines and look this stuff up. Be careful which website you hit because there's lots of bad information out there. Lots and lots and lots of bad information. So make sure that wherever you're looking is useful, but I actually go out there and look for that on the web. I find that the books online for this particular bit of information to be a little bit shy of a complete set of data. All right?
Some of the CSS engineer blogs quite good for some of that.
Oh yeah, yeah. Those guys are good. The CSS engineer blogs are really good. The cat team blogs are really good. There is a blog that the development team for SQL Server used to run, and it has stuff on it that's really good. I'm scared of the day Microsoft takes that offline. It's years old now. They don't update it much, but my God, it's still great. You've been there, yeah?
I do this at Superpass as well.
Oh, okay.
These weight types are so important though. Microsoft should have one definitive site that actually
Talk to Microsoft.
this is the definitive site. And everyone will go,
I don't disagree with you, but guess what?
it's not going to happen.
Nope.
They don't like to give out the information.
It's undocumented.
They said it was for internal use only.
That's true. Did you hear what he said? He said that they actually don't like giving out that information because they consider it to be internal use. But when some internal weight type is pegging my system, it ain't internal anymore, right? I want to know what the heck that is so I can figure it out. If they've done something bad, I need to know it because it's hurting me, it's hurting my systems. Let's see, let's go to the analysis. Let's take a look at wait time. Right, no, that's IO stalls. Hang on. Signal wait time. Is that the one? No, that couldn't be it. Yeah, that's it. If you look at my signal wait time, it's going up over time, and the numbers are ridiculous. And so how useful is that number? The way I've got it configured. Bingo, 100%. The way I configured this one is not useful. But I want to show you positives and negatives. I want to give you some sense of how to configure this thing so you can see what's going on inside your systems in a meaningful way. If you're just looking at a number, and especially if the line looks like that, which is ridiculous, right, it's not useful. This is not useful. This is like looking at the amount of allocated memory on the system. Slightly different angle on the line, but what's that, 8 degrees versus 0? But you need to be careful about how you configure stuff. That's the main point of this one. All right, now we're into fun. Enough of that. Everybody's had their spinach. Now we're getting some meat. An event to remember. Who here is on primarily, I realize everybody's got that 6.5 server in the closet that you don't talk about. Who here is primarily on 2008 or better? Cool. Majority of the audience. 2005? Wow, shocking number. Guys, upgrade. Right? Okay, who's primarily still in 2000? Okay, same answer I had this morning. I am so sorry. Yeah,
To the note 2012 yet.
Yeah, I know. That's all I got to say. I am so sorry. Extended events. Who here is using extended events to monitor their systems today? Figured. Oh, cool. Excellent. 2. Oh, sorry, I didn't see it. 3. Excellent. Excellent. Cool. That's like a 3-fold increase. What would it be? 300% increase over yesterday. Yesterday was donut.
It's infinite increase then.
Oh, it's an infinite increase. Thank you. Sorry. I'm getting my math wrong. I was told there would be no math. 2008 or better, extended events. Now, why am I screaming on and on about this? Extended events are glorious. They are magnificent. They are amazing. And they correlate almost one-to-one to a degree with trace. But here's the good news. They're cheaper. Faster, stronger, better. It is the $6 million trace event. Okay? That was a big reference and nobody caught that one. All right. They are a huge improvement. Magnificent improvement. Here's the bad news. Ready? There is no GUI in 2008 or 2008 R2. It is T-SQL only to XML. You then must deal with the information through those fashions. 2012 has got a GUI, both for gathering the information and for taking a look at it, and for generating T-SQL scripts. Here's another piece of good news, though. If you get if you can get at least one 2000 SSMS, you can generate scripts that will, for the most part, run on 2008. Okay? Because the extended events configuration syntax has not radically changed since 2008, and the number of events has grown, but as long as you're sticking to some of the main events, you'll be good. Let's take a look at it. Let's take a look at two things. Let's take a look at the wizard, which is a pile of dung, and let's take a look at their configuration tool. Let's pin this in. So here's the extended events. Now, first thing I love about extended events, very first thing, and I really love this. You know how, who here's used trace? Server-side trace, not profiler. Because don't run profiler against your production systems. Okay, most everybody's run server-side trace. Cool. T-SQL server-side trace. So, you got a system that's in trouble. You turn on server-side, you set up T-SQL, you configure a server-side trace, you run the T-SQL. You bounce the server or it bounces for you. What happens to the trace that you had installed? Poof. Guess what? These are permanently stored. I configure them. I turn them on, I turn them off. I tell them to start at startup. I tell them not to start at startup. I turn them on when I want to. I can drop them if I need to. I say permanently until I drop them. But I can drop them if I need to. But I get to keep them around. And so if I'm experiencing deadlocking, oh gosh, we've suddenly started getting deadlocking. Pop, I turn on the deadlocking thing, I'm good to go. I don't have to go out and, oh crud, let me find that T-SQL. Where'd I put that? Is that in source control? Wait, where was that last week? I forget. It's right there. I turn it on. It's good to go. I think this is the coolest part of it. No? Maybe it's just me. What?
Deadlocks, you don't need that, you already got it in system help.
Who here has heard of, now that Neil's brought it up, who here has heard of the black box? The black box trace? Yeah? Okay, cool. Several people. We got a new one, System Health. System Health is slick. It includes things like deadlocks. Cool. The only reason I did a deadlock one was because I wanted to isolate it off the stuff and look at it from a separate environment and not have to filter. Because I'm lazy. And when you have an existing, just like trace, when you have an existing event configured, it doesn't fire twice. So deadlocks are already running inside of System Health. I can turn on deadlocks, and it's just another way to view them. It doesn't add any overhead to the system. Nobody else is excited. All right. Fine. Let's go to the wizard. I hate the wizard. I mean, not that I'm a wizard fan anyway, but this wizard is egregiously stupid. Put in a name for it. We'll click next. We'll choose a template. Templates are cool. Gathering up information, connection tracking, query weight stats. Query weight stats. Oh. No? Yes! Detail tracking, query detail sampling, query batch tracking, query batch sampling. Let's take a look at query batch tracking. That's cool. It does a bunch of stuff for us. Select the events to capture. Now, it's already set them up. It's captured the error report. I'll go ahead and zoom in for the people in the back who have eyeballs like mine. Error reported, RPC completed, and SQL batch completed. Done. Happy? Me too. Because now you can capture your queries as they go by. We have a whole slew of other events, and you can set it up, sorting by event names and description, event fields only, all, and do searches. So if you want to say, I don't know, statement, you can get statement completed, statement started, SP, SQL, either one, pop them over, and you can put them into the events you're collecting. Here's something cool. Anybody ever done this with Profiler? Server-side trace, because none of us runs Profiler against production servers, right? Good. Anybody ever done this with server-side trace? Captured statement level? Who has regretted it? Who has watched their server performance go down while capturing this?
Watch yours go down.
You watched mine go down. Jonathan Casillas, who, I mean, I'm promoting this, but if you want an education in it, you talk to Jonathan. Jonathan Casillas was talking to me on the phone. And he talked to me about a system where he was capturing the SQL batch, RPC, and every statement on the system, and he couldn't measure it. He tried, and he couldn't measure the performance hit. He couldn't see it. Now, he gathered a rather large amount of data, shall we say, right? It spat out to a file and was rather big. Matter of fact, he had trouble managing the file system because it was so incredibly huge. Because if you go and capture statement level, you're getting everything. Set this equal to 0. Yep, got it, right? That's going to grow, let alone select, update, insert, okay? It works really well. Let's click next again. I hate the wizard. Here's one of the reasons I hate the wizard. Oh, it does say actions, cool. See these things? This is one of the few things inside of extended events that are actually somewhat dangerous. These are an extra call. These are an extra command. These actually have cost associated with them. That's the bad news. Here's the worst news. You're going to need some of them. Database ID is not included with the commands for SQL batch. So if you want to know which database the batch came from, you need to go to here. But if you go to here, you're adding additional overhead to your trace. Yay. I love Microsoft. But the wizard doesn't even suggest that that might be an issue. Again, I love Microsoft. I hate this wizard. Obviously, you can set event filters, and so now it's looking only for database ID greater than 4. Why? Hey, system databases. Okay, we'll click next. Specify data storage, and again, you can save data to a file, you can do rollovers, all that kind of same fun stuff you get to do with trace. It's all fun stuff. But let me explain to you why I hate the wizard. Let's do a new session. Does this look familiar to anybody? So have we seen this, I don't know, today? Maybe in the last 2 minutes? Huh? Templates. The exact same templates. And also, are we seeing more options here than we saw there? Oh yeah. Okay, well let's go to the events. And so it's already selected the events for us. And we've got the exact same UI for searching inside of the events. Exactly the same, identical, okay? Then we can go over here and configure, and when we configure, we see the events, we get global name actions, and we can add these things in here, and we've got the filters, and we can add filters here, and we've got the event fields here. Oh, I'm sorry, I should have clicked on one of those. We've got the global field actions, exactly the same as on the other thing. We've got the filter predicates, exactly the same UI again, believe it or not, slightly different. I realize it's more of a grid here, and it was a bit of a UI over there. And then we have the event fields. These are the fields that come back with each event. Now here's the cool thing about this. Notice these are unique to each event, right? Each event has its own set of stuff. Okay, it's cool and it's not cool. It's cool because you don't have, all you do is say, get this event. And you get these. Now there are some optional ones you may have to enable or not enable, but only the optional ones have to be enabled. You get everything automatically. You automatically get CPU time, duration, logical and physical reads for the SQL batch completed. You don't have to set it up, configure it, or anything. They come with the event. Done. Here's the bad news. RPC complete. Statement. Text of the statement that was run, okay? SQL batch complete. Batch text. Crap. Duration, duration. Logical reads, logical reads. Physical reads, oops, click's bad. Physical reads. they renamed some of the columns. So now, when you're capturing statements and RPCs, and you're getting both events, and everything's coming back, and you go say, oh, let me do a group by on the duration, or let me look at the duration, let me sorts, and oh, now I've got two columns with two different fields, and now one's null and one's not, and oh, crud. I've got to do all kinds of work to put these things back together. It makes me angry. But that's just me. However, why do I hate the GUI? Why do I hate the wizard? Because this is a wizard. This is a wizard. This is a wizard for laying it all out. It's really simple to use. You know what's different between this one and the last one? Next. Okay, I can live with that, right? I mean, who here needs it? Who here needs a next button? Me neither. This is great. We don't even need it. I don't know why they put the wizard in there. It's a pain. Okay, moving on. Let's see. A couple of things about this. Storage. Event files. You make up an event file. I'll zoom in again for the people in the back. File name, maximum file size, enable file rollover, limit the number of files, control how it behaves. Great stuff. But the other thing I want to point out was this little bit. Didn't we start with something along that lines? I mean, it looks familiar to me. What do you think, Neil? Is that the same thing?
It's pretty much the same thing. It's similar.
Can you query that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's right. You can query this. So in other words, you can capture events, set it up so it's going out to these ring buffer things, and then query them. I like my T-SQL. No? Okay, I'm alone. I get it. Next time I want more nerds in the crowd. Okay. Nothing is free. Tan staff will always applies. You can look that one up. Huh? Who knew? Okay, yeah, you're right. Shh. They have to look it up. You can make this, nothing is free. You can make this a horror show for your system. The way the buffers work in this, it will dump events. This is not guaranteeing you'll capture every event, but it can. You just switch it on and say, don't dump any events ever. And then polish your resume. Because it needs memory to maintain the buffer. If you've got a very high load and you're capturing a lot of events and you're capturing some of the actions, you need memory. If it runs out of buffer, you know what it does? It says, I cannot lose any events. I need more. And it goes and gets it. Now, the question yesterday, I don't have an answer for yet. From where? I don't know. But I'll bet you solid money, nowhere good. I mean, really. Be careful, right? Honestly, I'd let it lose some events, right? Is it really that important you get every single execution of that query? Maybe, maybe not. You know, maybe if you filter it down to only that one query that you need everything of, okay? But set it up so that you can not mess up your system. It's really important. And obviously you can make adjustments to the memory it manages and how it manages it, and I'm not going to get into all that stuff. Now you're like kind of going, well, great, Grant, that's cool. If I have 2012, this will be fantastic. I realize some of you guys are still on 2008. So let's give you this. Remember that giant, long, insanely stupid, completely and utterly obscure set of commands you have to run to get trace set up? Yeah, there, it's gone. That's it. This is RPC complete and SQL batch complete. And I'm telling you, the RPC, the trace version is that long. And this is a single statement. Right? Create event session, add event, add event. That's it. And it's setting the collect batch text on, right? And look, it's words. Duh! Wow, I know what that is. It's, it's English. I understand, well, okay, I understand American. But, it's great. I get it. I understand what this thing's going for. This is fantastic stuff. This is all done, and I said, well, no, it's one event. All one statement. Done. Now, all this with stuff, that's all stuff you can even throw it out and not even use it. But you can use the GUI here to generate your T-SQL. But let me ask you a question. Do you really need to? I mean, come on. That's pretty easy, right? He's trying not to talk. Say it.
There is an add-in for 2008.
I know. Jonathan Cahias wrote thing. You can go to Codeplex and pick it up. I forget the name, but it will generate the 2008 GUI. It has a GUI for 2008, and it will generate the commands for you. So, guys, you're not on your own. You do have to go to Codeplex and do a download. Sorry, there's some work involved. I didn't say there would be no work. There is work. There's just no math. All right. 4 more minutes. Resources, scarydba.com/monitoring. And at the end of the month, at the end of this month, anybody here who's using Monitor, SQL Monitor, and if you're not even using SQL Monitor, but you're interested in seeing what some of us are doing with various types of T-SQL monitoring scripts, go to SQLmonitormetrics.com at the end of the month, and you'll get to see scripts from Jonathan, from Brad, from me, from who else has been put stuff in? I forget. Stuart Ainsworth, Lewis Davidson.
Grant Fritchie.
I said me.
Oh, I didn't hear you say.
I'm Grant. Yeah, Grant. I said me. All these guys are putting out scripts that you can take a look at. They're all focused on SQL Monitor. Grant you, it's Redgate. Sorry, but it'll give you some indication of some of the things you can do because they have descriptions, links inside the descriptions to various information, and it's a great resource for learning more about monitoring servers. And several of the scripts, mine are pretty pedestrian. You've already seen many of mine, but some of the scripts are actually pretty sophisticated and cool. These aren't one of them, but anyway, worth checking out. Any questions? And I'll just leave this up in case anybody wants to write me nasty emails. You're not getting beer for 3 minutes. So, any questions?
When do we get there?
2 minutes.